I'm Erik Teren Mullins, and I spent the last 9 years working hard and diligently on my own manga called Blithe. I'm gonna pop it on the side here. While working on my manga, I watch a ton of anime. It's crazy. I watch mostly dubbed, and if ever given free time, I try to put a little subbed in there every now and then, but, free time. Am I right, all of you other people out there that don't have free time? Where is it? Where do people find it? Okay, let's talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners and how much we're on the edge of that fence about it. I didn't play the game, cause I don't have time for such awesome things. So I'm gonna give this show one of my light reviews for all of you, like myself, that are random watchers in the dark. Hopefully this review will help you decide if it's worth your time while trying not to spoil anything major. I usually like to start off by introducing the characters, but this show has a lot going on. Some of it incredible and other things less so. So let's talk about the genre first. This show is tricky in the way that they do things. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. It's a romance first, action drama second. And for a series that constantly shows off impressive visuals with hectic beats playing in the background and a bunch of characters throwing their weight around, it's unexpectedly cute in its romantic storytelling. It definitely got my heart beaten a few times, and it's the overall guiding theme that pushes the entire narrative. Now let's get into how serious this show is. Whoa, no. This show isn't serious. It's serious. Adult serious. Way more serious this. For edging adults on the edge, living that edge life, serious edging edge. A quick disclaimer. They can't help but shove how adult this series is. With its real-world poor people problems, nudity, sex, drugs, a level of violence and gore that all harkens back to some of the source materials of cyberpunk in general. There are even a few elements that kind of feel like horror in its direction. Viewer discretion is advised. This really makes me think of all those hardcore anime series from the 80s, and yet quite a few elements kept bringing me back to the DC Comics show Batman Beyond. There were so many similarities with characters, ways of thinking, and even plot devices. Shoot. How awesome was Batman Beyond? And that Nine Inch Nails inspired theme song? Oh, Bruce Timm. Why can't you and your awesome team be the ones directing DC's live-action film? Sorry. Back on track. The cinematography and angles we get really had an Afro Samurai vibe to them, with constant characters foreshortening and stretching to imply dynamic movement. And dynamic it is! So many scenes shot from odd and unique angles so that Studio Trigger can show off their fluidity. Studio Trigger is the animation company. We also get a lot of wide shots too. Gotta promote how awesome they are with intricate, detailed backgrounds. It really made me feel like I was watching Akira again as a child. Maybe even Blade Runner 2040 with their wider shots. There is very little comedy in this show. If you're laughing at horrid situations, then you're like me, and it's during the most awkward of moments where people shouldn't usually be laughing. Tee-hee-hee. The show actually has quite a few slice-of-life elements to it. It's very narrative-focused, but it's loaded with coming-of-age situations. The way it's depicted is very similar to the original FLCL series. It's got that punk music, the young boy becoming a man, and the crazy wild girl dragging him along on his roller coaster ride. Even a lot of symbolism comes off as similar with their grungy way of doing things. Now, I can't be here talking about FLCL and not segue into the music of the series, but I will, because the music for Cyberpunk Edge Runners will bring my point to its apex later on. So let's instead go over certain ups and downs concerning the plot. The series spans for 10 episodes, which is roughly 240 minutes, which is equivalent to around 4 hours. This series' story is incredibly rushed, and pacing wasn't the issue. They kept trying to tell far too much that they didn't elaborate on, and so it should have just been cut out from the overall series. At least a few things in order to expand on others. I would love if they did a minor editing to the 10 episodes and made them span out 20. Not continuing the series after 10, but rather spacing it out so that episode 10 would finish at episode 20. So many characters had in-depth backgrounds that are mentioned but not delved into nearly enough for us to comprehend their lot in life. Some things are just blurt it out, and they expect us to just go with it, which is so frustrating because the good ideas are all there, they're just not polished enough. To give you a quick idea of what I'm talking about, near the start of the first episode, if you aren't paying attention, you're gonna miss the fact that the main protagonist, Mother five-finger discounts herself a military-grade robotic spine from her trauma ambulance job. This item is the MacGuffin that propels the whole plot forward. MacGuffin is a tool used to propel a whole plot forward. It's so quickly mentioned that she did this, and the visuals don't do a good enough job letting us know what it is, so when her son gets it later in the episode, we kind of think, wait, who gave him this? Did he find this on the streets? Why is his first instinct to hawk it off when it's his mother's, to whom they've established that he loves and actually respects? Perhaps playing the game would have had me understand all this better? We also later on in the series get a character that develops cyberpsychosis. This is a term for going nuts due to the amount of metal and hardware introduced into your body and your body's rejecting it. This character keeps having flashbacks of being a runner along a wide open road, but nothing about the background to this person was properly developed for us to really understand or sympathize with this. The villains are cartoonishly evil, and the power levels of most characters isn't very well balanced, going from OP to never stood a chance fairly consistently. This show has a lot of this going on. What allowed me to tolerate all these loose plot threads was just experiencing everything through the eyes of our main protagonist, David Martinez. Now that's a segue. Dad's not around, he's super poor, and his mom works hard to make sure he can keep attending a high-class tech school. His life gets totally messed up, turned upside down, and then he joins up with Barrett and his Avalanche gang. A ragtag crew of cyberpunks, or do they prefer to be called Edge Runners? Pfft, whatever. Now David is learning all the ropes of being part of a gang for hire. You see the nit and gritty along with the fun hangouts. They definitely don't glorify anything, keeping this outlaw lifestyle very down to earth, and it's very realistic with its depiction. Meanwhile, all the poorly explained character development, the large tech companies going up against one another, shadowed individuals pulling the strings, they're all thrown into a giant blender. That blender doesn't have a cap, so it's a real mess. But luckily, I chose to experience this series thinking that I only know what David knows, and this really helped me go through this whole show with a less critical mind, allowing me to enjoy it more than I would have otherwise. David is pretty lovable with his good guy virtues, and no one loves him more than Harley Quinn. This episode sure has been bleeping me a lot. I'll do my best to stay on track. No, wait! This is Lucy Kushinada, or just Lucy for short. You know, she fights the corp. She's the bot master. Listen up, you all. You're the Edge Brigade. When it's laser time, she puts on 3D shades. Bot masters was a thing. She has a super in-depth background that you could probably create a whole 10-episode series around, but David doesn't really know it. So neither do we. But despite her background being frustratingly locked behind time constraints, she has great character development, almost on par with David. Her dream is to move up and live on the moon. I guess there's living quarters there. Like, it's not really explained super well. I mean, it's the future, right? So moon habitation must be a thing. That's it for the main protagonists, and I'm not really gonna get into the side characters or the gang members, except for another Harley Quinn. Last time, I swear. This is Rebecca. She's flipping awesome. Like Taiga from Toradora, she has a small frame for an adult, but is written very well. She gives us quite a few laughs along the way, and could easily be your favorite character. With the small amount of screen time she gets compared to the main two, she really is great, and I'd say a lot of that is due to the top tier voice acting. Now, I usually watch my series dubbed because I'm working pretty hard. I have watched a lot of shows subbed, where I sometimes go through a series twice because they both give a show a different perspective. But I recommend Edge Runners in English all the way. It's really top shelf. And not necessarily from a writing standpoint. A lot of the dialogue feels like forced hardcore, and it's kinda off, but the voice actors they hired sell you on the series the whole way through. They carry this show so dang well in tandem with the visuals and the epic soundtrack. It's truly an experience to behold. Hey, The music! Okay, so now that I've given you a rundown of the series, let's have the music sum it all up for me. The generic background beats are good. They do what they're supposed to do. This is good. The soundtrack, however, embedded pop songs throughout the series, along with an intro and outro that thematically work perfectly at expressing what this series is all about. You can tell this is a Netflix series as they throw all those licensed tunes in your face. The end credit theme is titled Let You Down. It is fantastic. Beautiful, artistic James Bond style shots of Our Lady Lucy while it drowns us in its own despair. It really hits the mark for half the tone this series projects. It actually has an official music video you can watch. I'd say watch it maybe after episode 4. It's just so that you kind of know how their world works when you see it, even though it's kind of a prequel to the whole series. It's an original animated film with artistic direction from Ilya Kuvshinov. Yeah, I think I said that right. That follows their original character named Lisa that they've drawn over the years on all their social medias. This time she's a cyberpunk character, incredibly well animated and 100% worth the watch. Even if this show isn't for you, I suggest checking it out. It's gorgeous. I have to mention that we also get a song called I Really Want to Stay at Your House, played throughout the series here or there. Do not watch the music video for this, as it is loaded with spoilers and it will completely ruin the series for you. Regardless, this song is very catchy and it's really good. I personally love this song as its structure and tone fits so well with the show as a whole. And lastly, the outro theme is by Franz Ferdinand. It's This Fire. Perfect, right? I mean, it's got a bit of punk rock vibe to it, his voice sounds all robot-y from time to time, and the lyrics fit like a glove. The visuals that go with it, however, are an embarrassment. It's the sort of thing that the skip intro button was made for on Netflix. If you want to watch it real quick before I start really dunking on it, you can pause this video, go check it out. It's almost 2 minutes long, it's like 1 minute and 40 seconds. Okay, so I was hoping it would be similar to Season 1 of Spy Family, where it slowly builds up with an artistic depiction, and at the climax of the song when he's screaming, "This fire is out of control," I thought it was going to have an explosion and it would turn into a well-animated scene giving you the hype for watching that episode. I think what they wanted was something artistic that could compete with the levels of Cowboy Bebop or maybe Samurai Champloo. What we got was build-up until the climax hit, but then they just continued with their build-up until the 1 minute and 50 seconds was up. It just ends. It's like watching a bomb with the fuse, but you don't see the bomb. It's just the fuse just goes off and then you're like, oh, the end. So we never get that explosive moment visually in the intro. What we do get visually is advertising and shilling. It makes me think of novels and even young adult comics that prioritize the name of writers over everything else, as if to say the creation you love is beneath them, and just remember their names for future projects. You know what? I have a perfect analogy. It's like getting a beautiful poster or a comic book, and then after sitting, let's say, roughly 4 hours in your lineup, waiting to meet this creator, and you spent money to be there, you finally get up to them and they sign the cover in big, right across the artwork, ruining the thing that you love the most about it. It's terrible. It's why I sign all my stuff discreetly, in a corner in some unique little place. So this way, I can show you that I love what I'm creating, and if you do too, I would never intentionally ruin that for you. But this is just me shilling myself. Like I do pretty much every video, right? My final thoughts. Cyberpunk Edge Runners really surprised me with its amazing voice cast, an astonishingly prevalent romantic story. I finished the series feeling very frustrated. All the elements were there so that this could have been the next Cowboy Bebop. It could have gone down in history as this near perfect and epic story to go with the beautiful animation quality, gorgeous character designs, and fantastic music. But like the intro song, it just barely missed the mark. After stewing on it for a couple of days, I really found myself rethinking a lot of the scenes and the characters in a positive sense. Constantly listening to the soundtrack and like Lucy dreaming, knowing that with just a few more episodes, Cyberpunk Edge Runners could have really made it to the moon. And for real, it was a beautiful ride watching them try. If you like my video just a little bit, then, doesn't cost much to hit that subscribe, or that like over here, or even maybe that notification bell. This way you can stay up to tune with all the new reviews I do. Thanks so much for watching, and have an awesome rest of your day.